Livestock can be raised in a way that is regenerative and restorative, but you would never know that by reading the proponents of a plant-based diet who seem to think that all livestock is bad all the time and we should reduce or eliminate animal agriculture because that's what we need to do for the climate. I think there's a lot of faulty logic and bad science that goes along with that. And I would like to share with you an article along those lines. This article shows it's Richard Teague and David C. Johnson and colleagues, and it is a report of how side by side comparison of adaptive multi-paddock grazing and conventional grazing. And let's see what it says. So here we are. Adaptive multi-paddock grazing management's influence on soil food web community structure for increasing pasture forage production, soil organic carbon, and reducing soil respiration rates in southeastern USA ranches. So this is pretty much word for word copied and pasted from a portion of the article, the summary. I've taken the liberty to rearrange it a little bit to create paragraphs and bullet points for ease of study. So it says the background, measurement of two grazing management's influences. Two grazing management means adaptive multi-paddock management and conventional grazing. The influence on pasture productivity, soil food web structure, soil organic carbon, soil microbial respiration efficiency. And this was conducted on 5 southeastern U.S. across the fence ranch pairs. In other words, side by side, the only difference between these two paddocks is the fence that separates them and the management practice, the adaptive multi-paddock or the conventional grazing. Conventional grazing is continuous grazing where the cattle graze and then they come back and they graze it again before the grass has had a chance to recover. Whereas adaptive multi-paddock tends to be, we're going to graze them for a short period of time, maybe a half day or a day, and then we're going to wait for a period of recovery before we bring them back around. And it's not on a strict time scale. Adaptive means we're going to wait until this paddock is ready to be grazed again, as opposed to a strict rotational schedule. So we're going to compare multi-paddock grazing, AMP, adaptive multi-paddock grazing management, using short grazing events with planned adaptive recovery periods, and to conventional grazing management with continuous grazing at low stock density. So the methodology is a point in time experimental field analysis. So we're not going to do over the course of time, but we're going to take one point in time and we're going to compare adaptive multi-paddock with continuous grazing. A point in time experimental field analysis was conducted to compare 5 AMP or CG, adaptive multi-paddock or continuous grazing ranch pairs, to better understand the influence of grazing management on these 4 things we've already mentioned. Standing crop biomass productivity. Standing crop means what is above ground, the biomass above ground. We're going to measure the biomass above ground. We're going to look at soil food web community population, structure, and functionality. We're talking about bacteria, protozoa, fungi, nematodes, microarthropods. We're going to look at the populations of these things, these living things that constitute the soil food web. And we're going to look at the soil structure and the functionality of the soil. we're going to look at soil organic carbon accrual. How much carbon is accruing in the soil? How much carbon is going out of the atmosphere and into the soil? Because that's the only place carbon is going to come from, is from the atmosphere. So if we know the soil carbon is increasing, then we know we're taking it from the atmosphere. Next, the soil carbon or CO2 respiration kinetics. In other words, respiration is the process whereby, I mean, it's many things, but one thing that occurs in respiration is when CO2 is released into the atmosphere. So the soil organic carbon kind of degrades, oxidizes, and becomes part of the atmosphere as part of respiration. So we're going to look at the efficiency of that process, and we're going to know, is this good for the climate or is this bad for the climate? Is this good for is the carbon going in the right direction or the wrong direction? So the results, here's the results that they found. This is just a summary from the top of the article. Here's the results they found is that AMP, or adaptive multi-paddock grazing systems, outperformed CG, or continuous grazing systems, by generating. So this is how the adaptive multi-paddock, the strategic biomimicry, the strategic scientific method of rotating cattle, this is how it performed. There was more standing crop biomass, SCB, promoting 46% higher pasture photosynthetic capacity. So photosynthetic capacity relates to the biomass, the above ground biomass, and they're estimating that there was 46% more photosynthesis going on in the adaptive multi-paddock as opposed to the continuous grazing. Next, a strong positive linear relationship of standing crop biomass with fungal biomass, and a concurrent very strong inverse relationship with bacteria biomass. So what they're saying here is that the above ground biomass has a positive correlation with fungal biomass. We're measuring the above ground biomass, we're measuring the fungal biomass, and we're saying that there is a relationship between the two, which indicates that our above ground biomass is having a positive impact because of that photosynthetic capacity and photosynthetic activity. It is having a positive relationship on the fungal content of the soil, and that's a good thing because the fungal content indicates a more mature soil ecosystem. And the more mature soil ecosystem means better nutrient cycling, and it means more effective control of pests and pathogens, which tend to be overrepresented by bacteria. So we're controlling the bad bacteria because our bacterial counts are low and our fungal counts are high. So next, a significant predator-prey interaction. So the predator-prey is talking about, the bacteria, protozoa, fungi, nematodes, microarthropods. They know, these scientists know, what's the predator, what's the prey. For example, a lot of protozoa eat bacteria. A lot of nematodes eat all different nematodes. Some of them eat bacteria, some of them eat fungi, some of them are omnivores, some of them eat protozoa, some of them eat other nematodes. And they know the specifics of these things, and they're saying that these predator-prey interactions are significant and positive and conducive to a good, robust soil ecosystem, and they have an inverse relationship with the bacterial population. So that's a good thing when the bacterial population is kind of controlled, because if the bacterial population is out of control, that tends to go hand in hand with not so positive things. A weedy environment, population biomass, positive relationship with total protozoa enumeration. So they're counting the protozoa. The protozoa are the flagellates and the paramecium and the amoeba. they're looking at they're counting the protozoa, and they're finding good things. They're finding what they want to find. They're finding positive things. The next result that you get in the adaptive multi-paddock grazing, adaptive multi-paddock grazing, is a reduction in soil carbon respiration rates. So the respiration, you want the respiration rates to be lower. You want the respiration to be occurring because that means living things are down there, but you don't want it to be too high. Next, you have an increase in because if the respiration is too high, that means the soil ecosystem is degrading and that carbon is being released into the atmosphere. You don't want the soil to be degrading. You want the soil food web to be becoming ever more robust and diverse. So next, an increase in soil organic carbon (SOC) in the top 10 centimeters of the soil profile. You want soil organic carbon. Soil organic carbon is a good thing. Carbon is not just a problem. Carbon is a solution. We want carbon in the soil, and they're seeing an increase in soil organic carbon as a result of the adaptive multi-paddock grazing. So I added the word implications here. That's not their word, but it's what it's not so much recommendations. It's more like, here is the significance of these findings. And they're saying rancher conservation to AMP grazing strategies would appear to regenerate soil food web population, structure, diversity, and biological functionality. You want the soil to be high functioning biology. That's the difference between dirt and soil, is your soil has high functioning biology. And all of this helps to improve the carbon flow into the plant biomass. So you want carbon to be flowing into the plant biomass. You want the carbon to be flowing from the air to the plants, to the soil, and then back into the plant biomass. So it helps to improve a buildup of soil carbon. That's good. You want your soil carbon to improve over the course of time, because American agriculture and agriculture all over the world for thousands of years has been degrading the soil carbon. We want the soil carbon to improve and increase. This is improving predator-prey nutrient cycling. So think nitrogen. All plants need nitrogen. We think we need to get nitrogen out of a bag, but it's better to get nitrogen from the soil biology. So, bacteria go around and they eat nitrogen. Bacteria tend to thrive on, excess nitrogen in the soil, but then they take it and then they excrete more than they absorb, and then the protozoa and the nematodes come along and they consume what the bacteria are excreting, and they also consume the bacteria, and you have this nutrient cycling, and the result is you have much more plant available nitrogen because of the biology. That's what we want to see happen. It also says that it helps to improve soil microbial respiration efficiency. We want respiration to be efficient. We don't want respiration to be occurring too fast, because that means if there's too much respiration going on, then that could mean it could mean oxidation of the carbon dioxide, and the carbon's going in the wrong direction. So helping to improve these things while offering improved climate resilience. Hello, climate resilience due to livestock. Repeat, climate resilience due to livestock. Cattle can be good. Cattle, sheep, goats can be good for the climate, because all ecosystems have animals. If we want our farm to act like an ecosystem, it needs to have engagement of animals. So improved climate resilience and a strategy to increase the capture and storage of atmospheric CO2 in soils of the world's rangelands. Just precisely the opposite message. of what we're getting from the advocates of a plant-based diet that are guilty of overgeneralizing, and they're saying that livestock is categorically bad. Well, we have an example here where livestock does not fit the nice little convenient categories that they've got constructed here. Okay, so I'm going to have this in the show notes. The name of the article is Adaptive Multi-Paddock Grazing Management's Influence on Soil Food Web Community Structure for Increasing Pasture Forage Production, Soil Organic Carbon, and Reducing Soil Respiration Rates in Southeastern USA Ranches. I didn't say this, but they did this on 5 ranches in the southeastern United States. And this is by David C. Johnson, famously of the Johnson-Sioux composting process, Richard Teague of Texas A&M, Steve Applebaum. I heard great things about him. Don't know exactly where he's located, possibly Wisconsin. Rye Thompson and Peter Bick, who is from Louisville, like me, but is now in Arizona. So if you like this content and benefit from it, please click like and subscribe. Thank you.